I noticed it at sunrise, a plastic sign zip-tied to my fence. Property under review, Valley Community Standards Board. After 40 years in Special Forces, I knew one thing for certain. This standards board didn't exist. Someone was testing my boundaries. At 63, William Montgomery had finally found peace on his 120-acre ranch. Each morning began with black coffee on the porch he'd built himself, watching sunrise paint his hard-earned freedom gold. No commanders barking orders, no missions risking his neck. Just wide-open skies, his loyal shepherd Duke, and silence broken only by distant cattle. His weathered face told stories of battles fought across continents so others could sleep peacefully. 3 Purple Hearts and countless classified operations had earned him this sanctuary, purchased with combat pay and retirement savings. The scars across his forearms matched the ones hidden beneath silver-streaked hair. Neighbors respected his privacy, understanding that men who've seen what he'd seen sometimes need space to heal. William never boasted about his military career. His ramrod posture and vigilant eyes said enough. This land represented his final mission briefing. Completed, or so he thought. William tore down that first sign, tossed in his burn barrel, and dismissed it as kids playing pranks. 2 days later, 3 more appeared, these ones nailed directly into his fence posts with unauthorized precision. The laminated notices claimed his barn violated aesthetic standards, and his livestock exceeded permitted rural density. Each bore an official-looking seal. Valley Community Standards Board, established for regional enhancement. William called county records. No such organization existed. While checking his property line, he discovered footprints circling his barn and photographs taken through his windows. Someone had been studying his home, his routines. He installed motion-triggered cameras that night. By morning, they'd captured a woman in pressed khakis photographing his water lines, making notes on a clipboard. Her SUV bore no official markings, but the magnetic sign on its door matched the logo on those notices. The invasion had begun. The silver SUV rolled up William's gravel driveway uninvited, parking at an angle that blocked the path. The woman emerged wearing a blue blazer with a laminated badge that read Karen Wilson, Standards Director. Mr. Montgomery, your property requires immediate compliance modifications. She thrust a manila envelope at him labeled violation notices. Inside were photos of his property taken from different angles, his barn circled in red, his tractor marked unauthorized equipment, even Duke's doghouse tagged non-conforming structure. William researched Karen Wilson that evening. No government position, no official credentials, just a LinkedIn profile listing community standards consultant. New violations appeared daily. 2 men in matching khakis photographed his property from a road. When confronted, they claimed to be field compliance officers. Their walkie-talkies crackled with coordinated movements. William's neighbor Guthrie called, voice shaking. He'd received similar notices before selling his farm last month. Pressure had become unbearable. A pattern emerged. 6 local properties targeted, all independently owned, all refusing recent corporate buyout offers. This wasn't random harassment. It was strategic elimination. William's motion sensors triggered at 5:17 a.m. Through security cameras, he watched 5 figures in tactical vests creeping toward his barn. They moved in practice formation, communicating through earpieces, carrying what looked like official equipment. Their radios crackled. Team Alpha in position. Subject presumed non-compliant, but vulnerable. Begin property assessment protocol. 1 man carried bolt cutters. Another positioned himself by the electrical box. A third approached Duke's kennel with something in his hand. This was an inspection. It was a coordinated attack on his property. 20 years in combat zones had taught William what real operations looked like. These people had training, but their movements betrayed civilian backgrounds. Elbows too high, spacing inconsistent, weapon discipline non-existent. He noticed their vests bore new patches, VCSB Enforcement Division, with a logo matching documents he discovered while researching Karen, a corporate land development conglomerate that had been buying farms throughout the county. They weren't enforcing regulations. They were eliminating obstacles to acquisition. William activated his property defense system. Not guns, but a sophisticated network he'd installed after years in security operations. Floodlights burst on, blinding intruders. Alarm sirens wail from strategic locations, disorienting them further. The enforcement team scattered like startled rabbits. 2 dug behind his tractor. 1 dropped flat on the ground. William stepped onto his porch, deliberately visible. "Morning, folks. Bit early for trespassing, isn't it?" The leader straightened his vest, trying to maintain authority. "We're conducting an emergency compliant evaluation under Code 7B of the Rural Standards Act." "Interesting. Show me your legal warrant." The man thrust forward a document. William examined it, noting the county letterhead. Clearly photocopied. "You're trespassing with falsified documents and weapons." William pointed to the taser visible on one man's belt. "That's multiple felonies." As if on cue, Sheriff Tanner's cruiser rolled up the drive. Perfect timing from William's earlier call. The team froze as Tanner stepped out, hand on his holster. Their carefully planned operation was collapsing in real time. Sheriff Tanner arrested the leader, finding a leather binder labeled VCSB Command Protocols in his vest. Inside, detailed plans targeting 7 local properties, psychological pressure tactics, and surveillance notes. Most disturbing were William's daily routines, documented down to when he fed Duke. "This isn't random harassment," Tanner said, flipping through pages. "This is calculated targeting." Later that week, William discovered Duke limping badly. The vet found glass embedded in his paw, deliberately planted near the water trough. His fencing had been cut in 3 strategic locations. The water line to his barn showed signs of tampering. Checking his surveillance footage revealed figures moving across his property at night, cataloging vulnerabilities, poisoning his livestock's water with something that made them listless. A neighbor who'd recently sold his farm called William at dawn. "They slashed my tires every week, killed 2 of my horses, made it look like accidents. I couldn't prove anything." His voice broke. "They won't stop until they have your land." This wasn't harassment. This was psychological warfare. Karen Wilson organized a community meeting at the town hall. "Certain property owners threaten our valley's future development," she announced to the crowd of 30. "William Montgomery represents a dangerous element, militantly non-compliant, potentially unstable." Flyers appeared on community bulletin boards, showing William's property circled in red, marked Community Risk Zone. Neighbors who'd shared meals at his table now crossed the street to avoid him. The feed store owner doubled his prices, muttering about problem customers. A community social media group labeled William a known threat to property values. Former friends who'd helped raise his barn now posted warnings about his dangerous military background. At Karen's latest meeting, William stood silently in the back as she projected his property on screen. "Resistance to progress cannot be tolerated," she declared. 15 neighbors nodded in agreement. Later, a neighbor's child delivered a note. "They threatened our loan approval if we spoke to you." Another texted, "Our insurance was canceled after we visited your farm." The isolation campaign was working exactly as designed, systematic community excision. A plain manila envelope appeared in William's mailbox containing a thumb drive and a signed note. "You're not the only target." The drive contained folders labeled with government style codes, Operation RRP, subject files, Territorial Reclamation Initiative. William's military training recognized the formatting immediately. These weren't neighborhood busybodies. This was structured psychological operations. Most shocking was a document titled Phase 4 Authorization, with William's name and property details, labeled Primary Resistance Node. Attached was Karen Wilson's real resume. Former federal contractor specializing in community behavioral modification, with experience in resistant population management. William discovered similar operations running in 17 counties across 3 states, all targeting independent landowners who refused corporate buyouts. The operation used isolation, pressure, and intimidation tactics he'd seen deployed in psychological operations overseas. This wasn't about compliance or community standards. This was systematic elimination of independent landowners, creating distressed sales for a corporate land consolidation program. William checked property records. Every non-compliant owner who'd sold had been purchased by the same shell corporation within days. William's perimeter sensors triggered at 2:14 a.m. Night vision showed 3 vehicles approaching with lights off. 8 individuals in tactical gear unloaded equipment. These weren't clipboard warriors anymore. Through a scope, William spotted actual weapons. This was escalation beyond intimidation. He activated his defense protocols, a sophisticated system of barriers, lights, and disorienting devices he'd installed from years of security work. Steel barriers rose from the driveway. Strobing lights and high-frequency alarms disoriented the team. William's voice boomed through strategically placed speakers. This property is defended. Law enforcement has been notified. Sheriff Tanner's deputies emerged from pre-positioned locations, catching the team in a perfect pincer movement. Under floodlights, their official vest revealed a new logo, Rural Reclamation Project Enforcement Division. The team leader tried drawing a weapon but froze when spotting the red laser on his chest. William's targeting system. "Next time, send professionals," William said through the speakers as deputies handcuffed the intruders. In their vehicles, detailed tactical plans for property seizure, equipment for destroying evidence, and authorization papers signed by Karen Wilson. William compiled all evidence: surveillance footage, fake documents, operational plans, and mysterious thumb drive, creating a comprehensive digital case file. His methodical presentation, honed from decades of military intelligence reporting, exposed how independent rural landowners were being systematically targeted using psychological warfare tactics. The investigation expanded across 3 states, revealing a coordinated corporate program using former military contractors to pressure landowners into selling valuable properties. Karen Wilson and her team faced federal charges for impersonating officials, criminal harassment, property damage, and conspiracy. The most chilling revelation: William wasn't randomly selected but specifically targeted because his independent lifestyle represented exactly what the program was designed to eliminate: self-sufficient rural Americans maintaining traditional land ownership outside corporate influence. "What happened here wasn't just about my property," William explained during congressional testimony. "It was about whether Americans still have the right to live independently on their own terms. These people weaponize community against individuality, using isolation and fear as tools to break those who wouldn't conform." William established the Rural Property Rights Alliance, creating a support network for others facing similar intimidation. His ranch became a training center teaching landowners to recognize and document targeted harassment campaigns. The most effective weapon against these tactics isn't violence, it's exposure, William often says. They operate in shadows, counting on silence and isolation. Have you noticed unexplained community pressure to sell your land? Experience sudden regulatory concerns from organizations you've never heard of? Share your story in the comments below. Subscribe for more account of Americans protecting their independence against corporate land grabs disguised as community standards. Remember, standing your ground begins with knowing you're not alone.